part if you need to.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Iowa Chill Show. It is November 4th. I'm your host, Nathan Creeps, joined by my co-host, Mr. Bryce Bortscheller. Bryce, a day ago we lost an hour of sunlight, and I want to get to the bottom of this with you. Am I crazy, or were we told about 2-3 years ago that in a year this was all going to be done? There'll be no more of this daylight savings bull crap.
Yeah, they 100% said it, and they've done nothing about it. And I keep hearing it every single year. I just don't think any legislature is happening.
So I don't know. So I'm looking up here. This is from the Indy Star, right? Despite the Sunshine Protection Act being unanimously approved by the U.S. Senate in 2022, there is no permanent end in sight.
I don't understand that.
What the
does
hell?
that mean?
I don't know. Well, I didn't know anything about the sunset protection, but I knew something was, was agreed upon that, hey, yeah, we're not going to do this anymore. And like I said, 2022. So that lines up with what we're thinking here. So we definitely
I 100% thought that we were done with daylight savings time 2 years ago. And that's fine. Like I don't know what your feelings are on it, but I'm okay with it. Like I get by. I think about it for like one day. I get kind of mad when the sun sets at 5, but otherwise I'm okay. Does this frustrate you?
A couple of episodes we were talking about the change of the seasons, and I kind of move and accept into my depressing state of mind for the next 3-4 months, and this kind of plays into a little bit. Yeah, you're kind of right. Right away, I still hate the idea of it. I get by it real quick.
Yeah,
and the only reason I like it is when it comes March 9th, is when you get the extra sunlight back, and all of a sudden your life is 100 times better.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one good thing about it. And with college basketball starting up right now, I have all these sports to get me by, move right through it. But I don't know. I was just really confused because they told us that they weren't going to be doing this anymore, and then we all got super pumped, and then they discreetly didn't say or do anything about it for the next couple of years.
Yeah, and I, what it reminds me of is that little star that you're supposed to have on your license, and it was, I believe, something that started in 2020 that you couldn't fly if you didn't have the star, and now they have a new deadline, which is like May of 2025. But it's so funny; these things just get pushed off, and then you forget about it, and you're like, "What the hell ever happened to that?"
Yeah, I was just asking about that star yesterday with my in-laws, who are professional vacationers. So I was like, because we're going to Cancun for my cousin's wedding here in December,
Nice.
and my license is due. It was expired here for my next birthday in May, but I didn't know if I need that star yet. And I asked them, like, no, you don't need it right now. Just use your birth certificate. So basically, what I was told moving forward is that star is going to replace not the birth certificate, but the passport.
Right.
You won't need a passport anymore, which is awesome.
Okay.
Do you have a passport?
I do.
Yeah, I say you guys go to Dominican Republic quite often.
Yeah, a couple of years in a row we did Dominican, and I still have it from that time. So it's probably going to run out at like 2030. Yeah, well, that would be awesome if that star is the case.
That'd be a whole lot easier.
Kind of nice.
Yeah,
because I know people that have had horror stories with the passport. Like you don't get your birth certificate back for weeks. You don't even get the passport back for a couple of weeks. So that'd be awesome. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I just got my first ever passport maybe like 2 years ago before we went on a cruise, because we're going to do a little island hopping around Dominican. But so that was I got it well in advance. I didn't run into any troubles, but still didn't like the process of doing it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, if you can have everything in one place with your driver's license, that made sense to me. So that was promising to hear from yesterday. So that's awesome. So it sounds like we kind of have an answer for that, but we have no answer for this daylight.
We're just going to get dark for the next month. What's really nice is like by the time January and February rolls around, we do this Monday night golf league, January through March. And towards like the middle of February, you start getting those longer days. And by the time we're going to league, it's like 100% bright. And that's when I start feeling a little bit better, because that Iowa February can be polar vortex, or it can be like starting to heat up, and you get those like teaser spring days. So to me, it's like, this is definitely the toughest time. That first couple of weeks of daylight savings time is just brutal.
Yeah, but the more I talk about it, the more I agree with you. You got to be depressed for a little bit, and the other side of the lawn's always going to be greener, especially when that sun comes back. But Bryce, we don't have a whole lot of Iowa news for everybody today. That's because it is election week. That happens every 4 years, right? Yep. I got to get down and get my vote in here this afternoon. I have to go get my teeth cleaned at the dentist. But for you, we got a little trivia for today.
Okay.
I'm going to be flipping the seat. I will be facilitating this one today. Bryce, I need to know how Iowan you are. I need to know if I can trust
Okay.
you moving forward. This is something I probably should have done in the first episode,
That's
but
true.
we're gonna jump into it now. Did you take Iowa history?
No, I don't think so. I think we got a little bit of history um, thrown in there, but it was definitely American history, um, not Iowa specific. Let's
You
hear
guys
how I
weren't
do.
you guys weren't forced into it?
No, I don't think so.
Really?
I know that we did a lot of the ancient Greeks, the Romans, yeah, different years for different parts of the history, but no, I don't think we ever had anything specific to Iowa.
I thought that was basically a law in Iowa. And like in fifth grade, everybody had to do like a month of Iowa history.
Man,
Maybe.
maybe we did. Maybe I'm so
Oh
old that
shit.
I already forget, but this is going to be a great refresher.
This is why we're doing the tests. I need to find out right now if I can rely on you. We're
Okay.
gonna find out how truly Iowan you are. We got 6 questions for you. Number 1, what is the state's bird?
The Goldfinch.
The eastern goldfinch, correct.
Hmm.
Number 2, the state rock.
I believe that's the geode. Looks ugly on the outside, but beautiful on the inside, and that's how I like to think of the Iowa people.
Yeah, did you ever go geode hunting back in the day?
Yeah. Now that you mention this, we definitely had to have had a
Okay,
class on
yeah.
this. Like, there's no way that I would just. Yeah, we definitely went geode hunting in school.
Okay. Yeah, I always did it with Michael back in the day. He lived near the river. We kind of learned about where you could potentially find. Never had a single luck of ounce, and we would just take a hammer down and just bust as many rocks open as we possibly find. I think we went over 2,000.
Now, it's funny that you say that because I don't think I ever found one either. And you'd think, I see plenty of goldfinches around, but I don't see a lot of geodes. It's an interesting thing to have as your state rock if you don't ever see them.
What else is interesting here is our state flower.
Ooh, that's one I'm gonna have a hard time with. I want to say it's like a wildflower of some kind. I'm gonna have to go. No, I don't know this one.
We have a few casinos
Oh,
named after
Wild
this.
Rose.
Wild Rose.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. Number 4. Name the 4 counties home of the 4 universities.
Blackhawk, Johnson, Polk, and Buchanan.
Buchanan's east of Blackhawk.
Okay, what is Ames? What could that be? I don't know that one.
Story County.
Oh, I
I
should
thought it
know
was
better. Yeah,
Boone County actually.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
would have got that one wrong too, but it's actually Story County. It must be right there on the edge.
Oh,
Three
that's tough.
before?
That
Yeah.
sucks. I feel like I should have known that one.
What town was President Hoover from?
So he has some Iowa roots. I want to say he's from the western part of the state, which is probably wrong. Um, let's go with Orange City, Iowa. I know that's 100% not right, but
You were so right, but so wrong at the same time with the western part. He's from West Branch, Iowa,
okay.
which is on the eastern side of the state, just
Which,
east of
yeah,
Iowa
makes
City.
no sense.
Uh-huh.
One of those funny things too, like Des Moines is not in Des Moines County. A lot of those weird little things. Okay, West Branch.
Final question here. When did Iowa become a state? I'm going to give you a 7-year gap here.
1848.
1846.
Okay.
Bryce,
Sweet.
I think that last one saved you. I was about ready to cut stream, remove you from my contacts, call the police on you to get you out of the state. That's a big answer right there. I probably would have guessed like 1860, low 70s if I had to guess.
Yeah.
So credit to you. Yeah, 1846. I didn't even,
I feel okay about those answers. I feel like on a really good day, I might have been able to ace it, but I'm okay with having a couple wrong there. 1846, you want to know the sad thing of why that is even in the ballpark? So, because I think it's on like established in, like when you have an Iowa sweater and it says like established in, like I always think of that, like that 1846 on someone's sweatshirt.
Yes, a
It's a weird
classic.
thing.
It's kind of like a Okoboji University sweatshirt in a way.
Right. 100%.
We got I can't wait to get into sports today. We also have a new friend of the podcast, but actually, before we get into the new friend of the podcast, give me the scoop, brother. What are you up to this weekend?
Dude, Halloween weekend looks so different now compared to like 4, 5, 6 years ago. I know that we had our party about a week ago. This weekend we did bourbon cider, handed out candy to kids on that Thursday night. It was a big, big issue with Des Moines because Des Moines usually does Beggars Night, the 30th, right before Halloween, and that got canceled because of weather. So we
Mm-hmm.
did actually hand out candy on the 31st in Waukee. And then we went to the Wild Robot. We went to the Palms Theater, which, by the way, is the best movie theater in the whole entire state. And I'm not saying that as hyperbole. Like that's an actually like it's the best movie theater. Wild Robot was awesome. And then went to the golf simulator on Saturday. Um, put some major money down on Ohio State to beat Penn State, and had a super chill Sunday. Watch football. It was a good weekend, but it just in the old days it would have been 2 3 nights at the bar and dressing up for a couple days, but not these days. How was did you have another Halloween weekend or what'd you do?
So we have Thursday Halloween, right? And 3 total kids show up to our doorstep.
Oh,
Super sad. I was dressed up,
new neighborhood
and
though.
yeah. Well, last year, God, we had about like maybe 20, but the weather must have been a little bit nicer. It was freezing cold here. I mean, we are right on the western side of town, southwestern side of the town, and there's a cornfield to our west, so all the wind was coming right at you. There's no blockage for anything like that. So we shut off lights early, actually right on time. We went in town. We had to run over to my brothers there in Waterloo to drop some things off and collect some things. And there was Halloween was as alive as I've ever seen trick or treaters all throughout the neighborhood, everywhere, absolutely
Really?
everywhere. Yeah, it was awesome. So clearly the weather was an issue here in our side of the town, but
Yeah.
when you got to there, you get stepped outside of the car, it's almost 15 degrees warmer. You would have felt.
That's too bad. I hope you get some trick or treating in your neighborhood because that's honestly like so much fun now. I love, and the fun thing about Des Moines is that they have to tell a joke to get the candy. I don't know if you saw that interview with Caitlin Clark a couple days ago. Um, I don't even know what it was for. She just had a press conference and she was telling about her experience growing up in trick or treating. But Des Moines kids have to tell a joke. So to me, like that part is so much fun. And I'm sorry that you kind of missed out there, but it sounds like you had a good makeup in a different neighborhood.
Yeah, I was listening to Murph and Andy the other day, and that's what they were saying. Like, oh, do you have any kids telling jokes or anything like that? And they had quite a bit. That's news to me.
Can I
I
tell you
never
one of
had
the
it.
funny ones that we heard?
Yeah,
Why did the toilet paper cross the road?
tell me.
It didn't. It got caught in a crack. Just
That
so many like 6 to 12-year-olds telling jokes. It's pretty fun.
that's good. Yeah, that is. I like that one. But all we had to do back in the day is to say trick or treat. It's a
Yeah,
little weird if you
same.
come up and just don't say anything.
I
I
agree.
don't. I
Yeah,
don't like that. At least say trick or treat or Happy Halloween, which I was 3 for 3 on the kids that came to my doorstep.
that's
Said
good.
that. So it's
You got to say
promising.
something.
Promising moving forward here in Hudson, Iowa. Uh, Other thing I wanted to touch up on was the Wild Robot.
Yes.
I haven't seen it. Don't spoil it for me. I've heard nothing but amazing things out of it. I know it's got like a 99% in the thermometer.
Yeah, it
I
does.
almost bought it the other day on our TV for like $27 to watch
Yeah.
it. I came close. I didn't do it, but now you're leading that I might be watching the Wild Robot tonight.
Yeah, dude, the Wild Robot is really good. And we were in the mood to go to the movie theater. We weren't seeking out Wild Robot, but then we watched the trailer. We're like, this looks awesome, and it gets really good ratings. It was adorable. It was awesome. Kind of like that futuristic AI robot type thing mixed in with like just your typical Disney animal animated show. It was good. I highly recommend it. Definitely puts you in a feel good mood.
And then you follow up the weekend with a little golf simulator. I start next week with Colby. We're going to be going every Tuesday. And on top of that, I guess I'll hop on top of that part later in this podcast. It
Okay.
makes sense with the basketball segment. But looking forward to getting back into the golf swing and just having a chill time here on
Oh yeah.
Tuesdays. And that is one thing that does help me get through the winter too. Got
100%.
basketball, football towards this end of the year, and a little golf simulator to break up the week for you.
Yeah, we're recording on Monday, November 4th, and from what I can tell, college basketball has some games tonight.
Yep. Oh, everybody in the state of Iowa does actually. Right before we get into that here, we got a new friend of the podcast.
We
Bryce,
do.
give me an introduction to these people.
Nate, this show is officially sponsored by Body Armor and Atlantic Bottling Company. Nate, are you feeling a little hungover from the weekend? Maybe a little
Bry-
groggy?
Bryce, I had a full day of drinking Saturday, and when I came home to my fridge, I didn't do it the night of. I should have done it the night of. But the next morning, I woke up shirtless, went right to that fridge, and I put my hand and grabbed one of the coldest, delicious body armors I've ever had in my life. Smashed it within 20 seconds, went and took a shower and ibuprofen. Was a whole new man coming out of that
Immediately
shower.
makes you feel better. Well, I want you to grab that beverage you got.
I already smashed it.
Oh, you already smashed it.
Yes.
Okay.
It
Here, I'm
says
going to
no
take a little sip.
chance. Hey, you got my favor.
Because it's time to take the pod to the next level. And to take your game, your pod, or your business to the next level, you need real hydration. With potassium-packed electrolytes, antioxidants, and no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or dyes, nothing is more real. Body Armor Sports Drink. Reach for the real at your local retailer. From my experience, you can grab Body Armor pretty much like everywhere, every store, every gas station. But for me, it's the local Quick Star. Big fan of Body Armor. This will take your grogginess, your hangover away. 100%.
Is that the kiwi strawberry you got right there?
Mm.
Or
Actually, I believe it's strawberry banana.
Strawberry banana. Okay, that's my favorite kind. That's what I get every time. I just go by the color.
You got to have those B vitamins, those electrolytes to get you going after a long tailgate or whatever.
Yeah, back in the day, you would go to Pedialyte for your escape route. Body Armors really came on, at least in my life here in the last 3-4 years.
You know what I kind of like them too? There's not that much sugar.
No.
Especially if you eat the light one.
It's delicious and it gets the job done. Pedialyte gets the job done, don't get me wrong, but you just got to get it down sometimes. Mm-hmm. Body Armor, I at least get to enjoy it.
Yeah. Hey, thanks to Atlantic Bottling Company for sponsoring the pod. Pumped to have them as a partner.
Yeah, and they're just more than Body Armor, right?
100%. Yeah, they are the distributor for all Coca-Cola products. So once we get our product dropped off, we will have a various array of different beverages to sip on while we shoot the shit every week.
Nothing was better back in my life. In 2011, when I was playing MW2, I'd come home from school on a snow day. I put a little Easy Mac in my fridge or in my microwave upstairs, and I would grab a glass bottle of Coca-Cola. And you already know everything tastes so much better in bottles, and I ain't seen any bottled Mountain Dew out there and anything like that, but I can get a nice cold bottle of Coca-Cola with that polar bear holding it on commercials. It looks so good and it tastes even better.
Dude, I've been a Coke guy, not even aside from the sponsorship. Like I've been a Coca-Cola fan my whole life. Definitely have some good memories. Funny story. I always had a grandma that stocked the fridge full of our favorite pop when we were growing up. And she always grabbed Pepsi, which is like, it's fine. It was a nice gesture, but she always forgot that I was a Coke person. Either way. Thanks again, Atlantic Bottling.
Yeah. When my friends came over to my house, they're like, hey, you got those Coca-Cola bottles upstairs? Everybody knew I had them. And my mom made damn sure she was grabbing those things. Oh, man, yeah, I might be getting those today, to be honest. I miss them dearly. Some of the best times of my life, that era of my life.
That era of Modern Warfare 2 and just coming home from school, getting online, Xbox, PlayStation, so good.
Bryce, usually last podcast, we talked about how we have to go every other week with Iowa football in this roller coaster.
We did.
And for the first time this year, outside of the Troy game, but in a Big Ten, we have back-to-back wins. And boy, does Sullivan look as sexy as I've been saying for the last 2 weeks.
He did look really good. And I have a question for you. You keep tweeting out Sexy Sullivan. Is this something that the Iowa fan base as a whole has started as a nickname, or is that your nickname for Sullivan?
You're looking at the origin right now.
Okay.
Something I'm going to stick behind. And what's not sexy about his game?
Dude, it's so good. Dude, that cut when he almost falls down, makes the defender miss, and he gets up, runs for 20 yards. He's such a freaking bright spot in that offense.
7 meters away from his knee hitting the ground. What an athletic move that we haven't seen from an Iowa quarterback since CJ Beathard, but way beyond CJ Beathard's athleticism.
Yeah, it's different than we've seen since. I mean, I barely remember this, but like Brad Banks, he was like the last I remember true runner that we had, and that was when I was like 5 years old. It's been so freaking long that we've had a mobile quarterback. I texted you. I said something that I kind of want to bring on air, and that is, I don't know how I can forgive Kirk Ferentz for not playing more Brendan Sullivan all year.
Same thing. I said this at the, I think, very first 1 or 2 episodes of our podcast. He's done this before with the Jake Rudock. Loses his job to CJ Beathard. We have Jake Christensen playing in front of Ricky Stanzi. Yep. And it's clearly obvious that this guy is beyond light years more influential to the offense and what he brings. People might say he can't throw as Cade. Bull crap, he can't throw as good as Cade. I watched Cade throw without laces, can't throw the ball 40 yards. This guy can do that, plus run the ball.
Yeah. I mean, that was my thing, and I hadn't seen a lot of Sullivan. I didn't watch him much at Northwestern, and my thing was like, okay, he's not going to be the same pocket passer that Cade was, which was almost nil anyway. Uh, Sullivan made some great throws down the field, and he's not. He will never probably be that 3 touchdown a game passer, drop back NFL style quarterback, but I don't care. Like he made the throws he needed to make, and then he does things like run for 25 yards after juking 3 guys out that you don't really get very much in the Iowa program.
Iowa defeats Wisconsin 42-10. Sexy Soli, you get 7 and 10, 93 yards through the air, one tutty, 58 yards rushing. And this year, you don't need him to throw the ball. You just need him to
No,
make the right passes at the right time, which he did with Caleb Johnson running the ball for 3 touchdowns and 135 yards. Maybe next year, yeah, we're going to need you to throw the ball a little bit more, but we're not asking that from you right now. We have a top 10 rushing offense in the country at 224 yards per game right now.
nuts.
What it does is provide us to run the ball even more
Yes, I thought
promising
that
than
was
when.
a great point made by the announcer several times, and it's from Kirk's press conferences. Like he opens up the run game for really 3 great running backs that we have. Yeah, I mean, if he's going to make the running game easier for those 3 guys, yeah, we need it because we got really one dimensional, and teams knew that we were going to give it to Caleb Johnson.
It's really a double compliment right now with Brendan Sullivan. You're making the defense think that extra half full second, which provides one of the best running backs in the country to get a step forward on the defense. And then if you don't want to go that route, you have Sullivan who's fast as hell.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, that 25-yard run juke, and then he had the other 20-yard run that he dove for the goal line that he was down just a hair short.
yeah,
Man,
so
just what a
close.
play. And like I said, Kinnick Stadium was buzzing
That's
Saturday.
my
And
sister was at the game. She's like, I forget how loud Kinnick can be when there's excitement and hope.
uh-huh. And that's exactly what Brendan Sullivan has brought to this crowd again. The season has lost hope, obviously, for the college football playoff, but we're still a loyal program. We love our team. We needed something to look forward to, and McNamara wasn't that guy.
Yep.
Sullivan is 100% that guy. And
Hmm.
I'm just like that. I'm bought back into the season, thankful to one guy.
100%. I mean, so many years you're not going to be competing for the national championship, and you might not even be competing for the Big Ten championship or the playoff. But one thing that you need to have as a fan base to continue to bring in good recruits, bring in good coaches when they move on, is to have hope and to be excited about 8-4, 9-3, 10-2, even if you're not competing for the whole title.
Iowa's last 3 games at Kinnick have gone 40-16 against Washington, 40-14 against Northwestern, 42-10 against Wisconsin. If I would have
Yeah.
told you that last year,
I don't
there's
think
just
anyone would believe it. No one
no.
can believe that we've had, what, 3 straight home games over 40 plus points.
And this game went exactly as we kind of predicted. I know Iowa takes full advantage of these poor quarterback
Mhm.
plays, especially against Wisconsin. Braden Locke stumbled,
Yeah, he
had
didn't look
no
good at
had
all.
stood no chance there in Kinnick Stadium. Kinnick Stadium was one of the best environments I've seen there in a long. It's probably since 2021 Penn State game. Just perfect weather all day. A little
Mhm.
overcasty, but that's what you're going to get for a November game against Wisconsin. You don't get sunshine and
No.
7 degrees against Wisconsin. You get a little overcasty, some drizzle. It
Yep.
was the most polite rain I've ever seen from Mother Nature. It was so
Mhm.
nice to us.
Yeah, it was just like a little
Uh
kiss on the cheek. And
huh.
you, I appreciate it because I got some intel from you last Monday. You said that this is a great matchup for Iowa, and I put the house on my Fanatics account on the Hawks, and it paid off. So I appreciate that, and want to thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't want to admit it on the podcast, but the way we talked about it, we obviously knew which direction we were going to say. I think I'm going to go lean in the same direction as Iowa heads out for a Friday night game at UCLA.
Yeah, dude, this is fun.
This is fun. This is why I like the new alignment of the conference. What a fun time. Can you imagine if I was going to Rutgers? I mean, how bland that sounds. We get to go to UCLA. I know UCLA isn't dominating anybody. They did come off a big win against Nebraska this
Yeah, I mean
weekend.
I we've said it now 3 weeks in a row. Like the Big Ten is gonna eat itself alive, and no, yes, there are 2 front runners. It's Ohio State and Oregon. Everybody else has a chance of beating each other up.
Yeah, this game, UCLA is a tricky team, and this is a tricky game. You're heading 2 time
Yeah,
zones out west that's never treated Iowa well, in my experience.
and a Friday
Obviously,
night game.
and a Friday night game. Give me your opinion on this?
I first want to see and confirm that we're going to have Sullivan at quarterback. because I could see after Cade gets off concussion protocol, there being some funny business here in a couple hours. Well, by the time this pod's out, everyone will know. Um, if he's playing quarterback, I like our chances of putting up 250 yards on the ground and coming away with a victory on the road. What do you think?
I've been stressed all for the first 3 hours of my day today just because I have to hear that Kirk may even be even thinking of putting Cade McNamara out there at quarterback. I mean, how does this happen? Not one of the 135 other schools in this division would even consider putting Cade out there from what we've seen from Sullivan for the last 2 weeks. And it sucks that we have to continually deal with this. Uh, I think we'll get some reassurance here in the next hour or two with the depth chart coming out.
I think so too. I think Kirk knows. I
What
think
I
he's trying to be respectful of Cade too.
I think I feel pretty good about Sullivan starting, obviously. What I can see from freaking Kirk is pitting Cade in a couple of drives here and there. That would
Yeah,
piss
and
me off so
that's
much.
honestly, I thought that was going to be the case this week, and it turns out that he may have had an actual injury, which is it's very good that they kept him off then. But yeah, it's exactly what I said last week. I would not be surprised if we see some of Cade, but I just think it needs to be a 65 to 75% of the snaps for Sullivan.
Iowa UCLA night game this Friday night, first Friday game of the year. It won't be our last Friday as Iowa hosts a Black Friday game against Nebraska. A lot of night games going on right now for Iowa. I know Iowa
Yeah.
State's had their fair share. Iowa's getting involved with it, and that's why I don't like this game a whole lot. Obviously, Iowa should go in there just piss pound them on the run. As long as Sullivan stays in all day, just continue manhandle like we did against Wisconsin.
Mhm.
But it's a tricky game. I don't
Yeah.
like it. I don't feel a whole lot of comfortability with it.
No, no. You know what I feel really good about is Caleb Johnson. I think if we keep that offense open and keep the holes going, I guarantee you if he gets past the first line of defense, he's going to break a couple tackles and have some of those 20 to 30-yard runs. I don't know if you saw this stat, but he is now in the argument for the most impactful player in the NCAA. And they were breaking down like the last couple Heisman winners that were running backs. Caleb has a better yard per carry, and I think more touchdowns than Henry and I forget who else it was, but he looks like a Heisman candidate.
Look at the weapons that these other names that you just mentioned had around them and
Yeah,
the system they have around them. Caleb Johnson came in from the worst offense in the country the year prior to a quarterback who can't move, and you're pitting 11 dudes in the box and you're trying to run. And this dude
yeah.
was still providing for his team. Now, that's why I'm so excited to see Sullivan back there give that 1-2 punch. Uh, the big question here, I think I know what we're going to get from the offense, especially if Sullivan's there, is our defense. Our defense has been spectacular since the Michigan State game, and that's what we wanted them to do. They've gotten one touchdown in the last 2 games, one interception last week. What are we going to get from them? What
I
are we
don't
going to
know.
get?
And
It
here's
scares
my
me on the
question:
road.
what does UCLA's offense look like? I haven't been able to watch them much.
I don't know. I'd say a little mix between spread and power. Nothing too crazy, but I could see him do some trick plays out there. You know,
Okay.
I think they're going to try to spread you more through the air than they are in the ground, but they're going to do some weird plays. They're at home. Iowa's proven not to be too comfortable outside of Kinnick this year, other than Minnesota.
True, true. And
Uh,
I got to think that this quarterback is better than the last two we played. Those were some of the worst offensive performances I've ever seen. And part of me wonders, is that why the defenses look so good? Is because we played against probably the bottom half of the conference in quarterback play. I do worry a little bit because we've definitely seen a couple games, Iowa State, Ohio State, even who else was it? Michigan State. I mean, they just air raided us, and we had nothing. We had no stopping that.
that's why I don't feel so hot about this game. We'll find out. I think you had the right judgment on that. The last 2 quarterbacks we played have been terrible, and that's why we felt pretty good about those games. This game, I don't know. I don't know what we're getting ourselves into. First time playing UCLA in the Big Ten Conference. We're gonna buckle up. I'm excited for this game. I think it's gonna be a good game. I can't wait for Friday.
I am too.
We're gonna get some answers.
Hopefully we see the typical Phil Parker evolution of the defense. Like sometimes you have some bumps in the road with that defense. You are a bend don't break, and sometimes that can go poorly against those spread out and air raid you type teams. I hopefully we see just the evolution of the normal defense. So
Yeah, absolutely. Big confidence boost from Lee getting his first interception last week. Cooper
yeah,
DeJean's replacement. Shout to Cooper DeJean right now, making plays in
yeah,
Philadelphia.
Want to say he's one of the higher graded players on the whole entire Philadelphia
He's
defense.
completely flipped that Philadelphia defense right now, making okay plays into big plays. So shout out to him. Shows you how big of a gap we had to fill this year. A lot of pressure on Lee. Lee getting that interception should give him some confidence.
100%.
Hopefully that's because he's been our weak point all year in this air raid. They've been targeting him. He's been getting torched that side of the field. We put another guy in that position. He gets torched. Hoping that you're right with the Phil Parker. We stepped up, we made the plays, got the confidence. Let's buckle things down and let's take care of our weak points and make it Iowa football and powerhouse these guys to victory.
Yeah, there's no saying. I mean, I'm going to bet on them. I don't know how this game's going to go, but I like the way that the team's going right now. Okay, I don't want to derail you, Nate. I know you're about to go to Iowa State, and we'll get to that. But I do want to mention something. You mentioned Cooper DeJean for the Eagles, and I wanted to bring up the fact that Purdy threw to Kittle and Montgomery threw to Laporta a couple weeks ago on National Tight Ends Day, and just speaking to the fact that Iowa and Iowa State are starting to take over the NFL, which is really freaking cool to see.
Yeah, I got Kittle on my fantasy. I got Montgomery on my fantasy, so I'm just fine with what they're doing with the Cy-Hawk connection there. You do love to see it.
Touchdown magnets, dude. You got a good team, it sounds like.
Yeah, was it Geno Smith? Is that his name? Former Iowa safety, Tennessee
Yeah,
Titans.
Geno Stone, right?
Geno Stone. Had a game-winning pick yesterday against the 2-6 Patriots or whatever they were. But yeah, Iowa players just making big plays. You love to see it.
100%. Just want to throw that out there. It's been a lot of fun to see those guys play.
Iowa State dream season is not over. However, the perfect season is over, and that's okay. I think it's a big monkey off the back.
Yep.
They've been close calls, barely scratched it through getting some of these victories, against UCF. Texas Tech is the one team to finally get that job done against them. 332 yards for Rocco, 2 TDs and 1 interception. Higgins, another outstanding game, 150 yards, 1 tutty. Quick thoughts on this game, Bryce?
I have never seen a worse field goal attempt in my life.
Yeah, what the hell?
I don't know what happened there.
Oh, that guy comes in and kicks a 55-yarder, no brainer against
Yeah,
Iowa,
he's
right
a
down the
decent
freaking
kicker.
pipe. Yeah, that is a good sign. I think it shows you that kickers are still human. I'm sick of seeing these NFL kickers do this crap, and then college kickers been making 60-yarders. That's why I like college football. These kickers can still kick some shitty field goals here and there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, you don't know what you're going to get, and I don't know. I think that you're right. It's probably a good loss. Like still with some games left, you can still probably, if I'm not mistaken, you can still win the Big 12.
Yeah, Iowa State controls
So
their own destiny right now for sure.
uh,
Just because they don't play BYU.
yeah, 100%. And they've been scraping by. Like they played some teams a little too close, and they were fighting with fire a little bit. And yeah, those things are going to eventually come back to bite you. So I'm kind of glad that they got that nick in the road with a few more games left. They can still prove themselves and hopefully get a Big 12 title.
As I would say, heading themselves into a trap here at the upcoming game against Kansas. It is at Arrowhead Stadium. It's going to be,
Yeah.
75% probably Iowa State fans down there, if I had to guess. Kansas is 2-6. Very disappointing year for Kansas right now.
Yeah, and weirdly, the line is like -3 for Iowa State. I think that's surprisingly low. Like Kansas doesn't look very good, and Iowa State pretty much owns that city. They travel very well to Kansas City, so I would think that 75% or more. I don't know. I don't know what Vegas knows that we don't, but I like Iowa State -3 in this game.
Yeah, I have them covering 3 too, but Vegas knows something here. It's a little trappy. It's kind of just like Iowa heading up to UCLA. Clearly, 2 more dominant programs head into a game where they should be favored by. I mean, Iowa's line seems about right. I think it's moved to 6 right now. Iowa State 3. Yeah, I don't know.
It seems low. And maybe it's because they've played so many close games the last few weeks, but that seems really low. Kansas is not great.
No, but I'm pumped to watch this game just because I like the neutral site. I like it being in Arrowhead Stadium, and this might be a better game than we think it's going to be. Obviously, Kansas was a top 25 team coming into the year. I think they opened up the year a loss against Illinois. A close game though, but Illinois has been pretty promising. Besides the last 2 weeks, giving up one to the Minnesota Gophers, who are hot right now.
Yeah, dude, they caught fire, and it's pretty much been since the Hawkeye game.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys are no joke. Who has? I think Penn State has to play Minnesota. Yeah, maybe Ohio State.
Penn State goes to Minnesota. I think second last game of the year for Minnesota because Minnesota usually ends the year with Wisconsin. So I'm looking forward to that Penn State Minnesota game. Where they say,
You
if
know,
it's
I think we got lucky. I think if we play Nebraska earlier in the year, that's scary. I think if we
Mhm.
play Minnesota late in the year, like you flip flop those games, it's a whole different story.
oh,
Nebraska's really turning it down.
absolutely. I mean, Iowa has looked better here the last 2 weeks, but I think Iowa went to Minnesota. They were 3-point favorites. I think you pit it almost pick them right now, if not Minnesota favored.
I would
And
think so
that's
too.
the last team I want to play right now is Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah. I would not want to play Minnesota or Indiana right now if you're trying to get into that playoff as one of the 2 or 3 teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah, Nebraska looking like Nebraska again, so all is right in the world for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
Um,
there's that great saying, like everything regresses to the mean. I've been saying this about my boy Sam Darnold that the Vikings eventually all things will regress right where they're supposed to be, and Nebraska's we're at the peak fall off of Nebraska.
yeah, Minnesota was looking human here for the last 2 weeks.
Mhm.
I think it's kind of escaped one last night.
We
Should
did,
have been
yeah.
down
It
a
looked
lot
ugly as
more.
hell.
Sam Darnold did just enough there towards the end. Justin Jefferson got hot. I hit that money too. I had Justin Jefferson over 90 yards. Had Vikings covering, and I hit Vikings comeback. So
Nice,
let's get a
huge.
little payday.
Yeah.
Speaking of payday, let's jump into our lock
Okay, let's do
bets
it.
of the week. My
Sweet.
first one is Iowa State to cover 3.
Yeah, I think that's safe. I like we've said already. I don't really know what's going on. Maybe it's the fact that they have to travel. In my experience, Iowa State loves that city. Yeah, I love that bet. I have no words. I think they're going to keep playing close games for the remainder of the season, but um, 3 seems fair. That's not too crazy. Let me see here. I think I'm going to go with the hottest team in the entire nation, Oregon, -25 over a struggling Maryland team. It's a lot of points to cover, but I'm not too worried about covering that many points when you have an offense like Oregon.
So you said Oregon to cover?
Mhm.
My number 2 bet of the week is Oregon to cover 25
Yeah.
against Maryland.
I
I've seen enough from Oregon.
Yeah, and I've seen enough from Maryland. Like Maryland had
Mhm.
maybe a couple good years in 21 and 22, and they're not that team anymore, which was still close to 500. I don't think that they have a chance. Are you snaking back with number 2 or me?
So that was my number 2.
Oh, you already number
Yep.
2. Okay. Number 2, I got Georgia -2.5 on Ole Miss. This is a great line. I think one Ole Miss just demolished their opponent by like 20 points last week. They might be one of the hotter teams in the SEC. I think you mentioned it last week that Georgia's probably the best team in the entire nation. If it's not Oregon and Ohio State, I like Georgia to win on the road, -2.5.
Price my number 2 is Georgia -2.5 versus Ole Miss. Man,
Nice.
we got something. We got something going on here, Bryce. If you're a dedicated listener to podcasts, you know exactly what we're talking about. Yeah, Georgia all around football. Oregon, you're gonna know what you're getting from their offense,
Hmm.
defense here and there. Georgia's all around.
Yeah.
Just straight manhunt, especially the SEC football. Ole Miss did look really good against Arkansas this last week, but
Yeah.
they're gonna go from the highs to the lows to lows with the Bulldogs coming to town.
Yeah, I mean it's not the same Bulldog team, but there's a crazy stat like Kirby Smart is 48-0 in his last however many games. If it's not Alabama, I don't see Georgia tripping up to Ole Miss. Number 1, you already said it. It's your Georgia bet.
Yeah, my one was Iowa State to cover, Georgia to cover 2.5, and Oregon to cover 25.
Okay. My
So
last one will be Indiana -14, another extremely hot team. Indiana and BYU are the lowest ranked, hottest teams.
uh-huh.
They look good on both sides of the ball. And Michigan, kind of been the theme of the whole pod. They don't look great. I really like Indiana to cover 2 touchdowns.
Is Indiana the second or third best team in the Big Ten right now? I mean, they're
Yeah,
down to the back of a quarterback, and they're still just pitting the piss pound on whoever's in
yeah,
front of them.
the
What is
Indiana
going?
Ohio State game is going to be really good for one, but it's going to be indicative of where everyone kind of sits at the end of the year. Like I don't know if we've seen Indiana really been tested in a while, but they look like the best team on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, head coach coming out from James Madison brought like 12 transfers with him from James Madison. So you had a bunch of D2 guys coming straight to D1 play. No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. I mean, they're just pitting it on everybody. This is really exciting. I'm all for
It-
the Hoosiers right now.
It's a weird comparison, but it's like the Detroit Lions of college football. Like they are kind of
I
like the
agree with that.
underdog that's just dominant.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree with that. Yeah, I like that bet too. So that would have been my honorable mention one if I had to go with one.
Nice. I think they're good bets. I think I went 3-0 2 weeks ago. I don't think I had a great week last week, but it's kind of hard. We're predicting these games 7 days out, and a lot of things can change. So
Uh huh.
good caveat to
Yeah, not the only thing to keep your eye on, Bryce. As we speak right now, there's college basketball being played at the
yes.
very current moment, and actually, Audie Crooks is playing right now for Iowa State women. Have to keep an eye on her this year. Uh, I think all programs. I'm Iowa host Texas A&M Commerce this tonight. Iowa State and your number 5 Cyclones will host Mississippi State tonight, and I'm expecting big things from Iowa this year. I think they're going to be a top 3 Fran McCaffrey team. A lot of people are on one side of the wheel with them, or one side of the table, leaning really high or leaning really low. They're picked to finish like 12th in the Big Ten. There's no way.
No.
Give me I'm a top 7-6 finish.
No, I don't think so. Let's see. We got some Sanfords coming back.
We have nothing but shooters. Josh Dix,
Dix.
Harding, the point guard, arguably the top 5 center in college basketball. Owen Freeman, Big Ten freshman of the year last year.
Yeah, Freeman looked
We
great.
we got some great transfers from Murray State with a lot of athleticism. We got
I
it.
think it's going to be a good
I,
team. I mean, the
I think it's
athleticism
gonna be a
is
great team.
yeah, athleticism alone in the last couple of years would have taken us to a top 5 in the Big Ten. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I love that. Well, and Iowa State returns quite a few of their guys.
Lipsy, Montanovich, whatever his name is, that guy from Wisconsin, the 6
Mhm.
foot 8 guy. He was a freshman last year too. It doesn't matter who Iowa State has. They run TJ Ottsberger basketball, and that's very fundamental, very systematic, and they do it to a freaking T. So you know exactly what you're gonna get out of Iowa State and in the regular season. Probably a Big 12
First
championship.
first year for Drake without the DeVries family.
Yep, Coach
Um,
McConnell coming in,
okay.
taking over. Plenty of national championships at the D2 level. Drake's gonna be fine. UNI was picked to finish second in the Missouri Valley Conference. UNI's leading scorer Nate Hesse transferred to Iowa State this year. So
Oh,
look,
okay.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So that's something to keep an eye on too. Yeah, I'm excited.
Does okay, interesting. So they still got Bourne, I think.
No, Bourne's at Colorado State.
Oh, he transferred too. Man,
Mhm.
that transfer portal just
So
has
I don't
me.
know how they're picked to finish second. I'm not sure if the MVC is very deep this year, but you know how those pre-rankings usually go out. They'll
Yeah.
never really quite line up unless if you're the clear number 1 favorite. Iowa State welcomes Gonzaga to the Big 12 this year. Gonzaga versus Baylor tonight, but not
Oh,
they're
that's a
not
huge game.
but they're not tipping off till it's number 6 versus number 8, but they're not
Is
tipping
it
off
is
till
it pretty
freaking
late?
10:30.
Yeah.
Cut that crap.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah,
Especially on a
it's
Monday. Come on now.
uh-huh.
That's a really good game. You know what I'm like, kind of excited for is Gonzaga always gets that bid at 1-4 in the NCAA tournament, and it's always like, well, they've been playing God knows who the whole year. So I'm actually kind of
Mhm.
excited to see Gonzaga get some tests throughout the year to see where they actually line up on the national scale.
Yeah, these conference alignments have been awesome. It's
Yeah,
been a breath of fresh air for sure. Whether if it's
definitely net positive. I think it's weird for like some of the travel stuff, like Gonzaga having to probably travel to all those Big 12 teams is not going to be
mhm.
ideal for the student athletes, but it's really good for the viewers. So I mean that part's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely a business decision, but yeah, I'm all for it. Can't wait to see what the team's got this year. Usually, Bryce, when we do this segment, we're ranking our favorite things, what we enjoy most about the state of Iowa. It's a little different today. We're going to be ranking our top 5 worst malls, whether current or past malls in the state of Iowa.
I love it. I thought this was you originally said 7 malls, and I'm trying to even think of 7 malls that currently exist in the state of Iowa
Mhm.
are operating at a full capacity and haven't been closed. So I'm glad that you narrowed that down to 5.
I'm going to lead us off here, Bryce. Give me Waterloo, the Crossroads Mall in Waterloo. You've been there, right?
I absolutely have. Yep.
I'm not even sure if it's. I mean, I think they might have 1 or 2 stores in it.
hmm
I don't even
Yeah,
know.
it's
It's terrible,
not
like
not
ghost
in a good
town.
spot. Yeah, not at all. And I almost threw them on here too. That's probably an honorable mention. There's a couple that I almost lump them together in my mind. I have a mention of a Waterloo Cedar Falls mall for sure in this list. My number 1 is Valley West Mall. Honorable mention would be Merle Hay, some of the most dead malls in the entire state, let alone the Des Moines area. And I put Valley West Mall on here instead of Merle Hay because when I walked into Valley West Mall, I want to say a year and a half ago, I had been under the impression that Spirit Halloween was there. It is not. It has moved to the West Glen area. And I walked into Valley West and I was terrified. It is a ghost town. There's almost nothing in there at all, but it's still operating. It reminds me of something that would be on like a Call of Duty map if you're playing like Nazi zombies.
Just to be clear, you said this was your number one, but is this your number five? Like
Yes,
worst?
my first mall, but it is my number 5.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, funny thing with the Spirit Halloween, same thing. Spirit Halloween's traditionally always been at the Crossroads Mall in Waterloo. They said, "Yep, we seen. I mean, we're spooky enough ourselves. We don't want to be
Right.
anywhere near you guys." They hiked down the road closer to Chick-fil-A, and what a great decision.
100%. It's almost like they're their own haunted house, so you can't bring a Spirit Halloween in there. It's like part of the attraction is being a little scared when you walk into some of these malls. You snaking or me snaking?
Uh, Go ahead, Snake.
Okay. I'm going to go Penn Central Mall in Oskaloosa. This is one I would go to growing up. I believe we would go for the J.C. Penney, and I'm not even sure if that's there anymore. It is a absolute dusty ghost town in a town of what 10, 11,000. It's not in a great spot, and I feel for the people of Oskaloosa to even have to have that eyesore close to their town square.
These towns with the population from anywhere from 10 to 20, 30,000 should not even be thinking about them all. I think,
That's the truest statement you've ever said.
yeah, quit it. You're going to see some resemblance here. Cedar Falls is my number 4. The only thing saving it is Hoo Hot.
Yeah, that's true. You got a good point there. Some of these are definitely propped up by restaurants.
There's one restaurant right next to Hoo Hot in that mall. I think it used to be at Old Chicago, and
Hmm.
I've lost count of how many times that restaurant has switched to something else.
Yeah, we used to go to that old
And
Chicago back in the college days. I'm not sure when the last time is. I haven't been to that Hoo Hot in quite a long time. What can you get at the College Square Mall these days?
that Bath and Body Works, right?
Okay,
With
hey,
like the candles.
yeah, great
Yep,
candles,
yep, yep,
some of
yep.
the best.
It's actually doing pretty well. Every time we go there, there's actually quite a bit of traction in that specific spot. Uh, Other than that, if you just want to walk around, that's literally it. It's nothing, literally nothing. And
Yeah.
I don't understand how it sits there.
What's funny is it was almost dying by the time we went to college, like 10 years ago. It was probably close to our freshman year, and it was
Hmm.
barely hanging on at that point. I do actually have that on my list later, and I'll skip over it when we get to it. But um, are you snaking?
Uh, that was my number 4. What was your number 4?
Penn Central Mall in Oskaloosa.
Okay, so I'll snake back here with number 3, Mason City Mall. I'm trying to even think what's there.
Dude,
I
I
went to it all the time. I had a really funny story with my friend Fluff. He was pulling out one day, and we didn't know which way the one direction. It was a one way, and
yeah,
you're supposed to go left. He pulled out right of the mall. We were 10 feet from face to face from a cop on the road, just staring at us, and he just looks
like
at us, goes,
you
"That's
didn't
always
do
my."
it
So
right.
every time I think of the Mesa City Mall, I always think of that story. And then he pulled us over eventually later, but he just said, "You guys look a little lost out there. You all right?" Like, yeah,
Yeah,
we just don't know what we're doing.
he thought you were druggies because nobody
Uh,
else goes to that damn mall, and that's actually my number 3 as well. I think we went there together at one point, and it makes me laugh every time, just kind of because you get such a kick out of it. It's such a lack of a better term shithole, and it's just a funny fucking mall.
Yep, nothing going on there. I can't tell you one store that's even in there.
It's so bad, dude.
Uh-huh. So that was your take us back with your 2.
Okay, number 2, College Square, and you've mentioned this one already too. At one point, I feel like at the height, it probably was a mall to be reckoned with. It is no longer that. Yeah, who hot propping these things up. Sometimes a pizza ranch in some of these malls, but that's pretty much it. There's not a lot of reason to go to a mall. I'll say this: I go to the Jordan Creek Mall a lot, which is kind of a mistake because ever since COVID, everything got lifted. It's like the busiest mall in the entire state, and I mean, there's a good reason. Sometimes it can be fun. Um, College Square Mall does not fall in that category. There's not a lot of good reasons to go there anymore.
Yeah, you're either overexcelling or you're just put your business in the grave there at these malls. I would argue, gosh, what's Coral Ridge Mall is unreal busy,
Yeah, that one's crazy, especially
unbelievable.
Times I go there is like usually like Friday before game day, and that's
Uh-huh.
like the busiest time you could ever
Oh,
go. And
terrible.
dude, that's just me and malls. I will go when it's the most busy.
Uh-huh. Yep. So I mean, that's what we used to live in Tiffin, and we used to go to Coral Ridge all the time. We had to quit going. It was especially this time of year, November hitting it with uh holiday season coming around the corner. It's stay away.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to try my best during the holiday shopping season to stay away from Jordan Creek Mall, but thing is a magnet.
Yeah, I got better at online shopping just because solely I can't go to the malls anymore. The only two I go to are Jordan Creek or Coral Ridge.
All right, you kind
Uh,
of were an in-person shopper.
mhm. Yeah, just because like the physically see and touch it, kind of know what you're getting yourself into. But I want to touch back on the Cedar Falls Mall real quick. Everything in Cedar Falls is working. Everything, every
Yes.
restaurant, every small business, every event they put on,
Yep.
but the mall.
Yes.
So that actually surprises me that Cedar Falls didn't somehow make it work. But I'm also at the same time I've seen enough of it. Knock it down, do something with it. Bit more shopping area because everyone is just coming out to the Viking Road area by the Target, the Shields. That's ridiculous. That's a zoo out there.
Yes, true. Yeah,
Uh
there's a
huh.
lot of construction going on. There's a lot of roundabouts being put into Cedar Falls. I think it's all going to pan out very nicely. The flow of Main Street's going to be awesome, but yeah, it can get kind of congested down there.
Yep. Mayor Loddick's up to something for sure. My number one worst mall. It's not even close. It's the Spencer Mall. Oh my god. I went there one time when I was getting shoulder surgery in Spencer, so I made frequent visits up there. And one day I went to go get a haircut, and I think that was the only place open. It was a pretty big mall, and the only place I had that looked so good. The only place open was a place to get a haircut. It was super sketchy and terrible, scary experience, very uncomfortable. And remember OEI, Okaboji Entrepreneurial Institute?
I do.
Okay, so when I was in that class, I we got a chance to sit down with some entrepreneurs throughout the area, and one of the entrepreneurs was the mayor of Spencer,
Oh yeah.
and she sat at my table, and I asked her one question, I'm like, "So, what's your thoughts on the Spencer Ball?" And her eyes, I don't even want to talk about that freaking place.
Yeah.
And this goes to show you right there what kind of death trap it is.
Makes me wonder if that mall has been flooded after that huge flood this
Mhm.
spring. Well, most of Spencer was kind of underwater.
Yeah, hopefully, it did get that place called it for good.
Yeah, good chance.
Mhm.
My number one is Quincy Place Mall in Ottumwa. Ottumwa is a struggling town as a whole, and that is a struggling mall. I would not recommend going there. I would hardly recommend going to Ottumwa outside of going to the canteen for a, what do you call it? A loose meat sandwich.
Yeah, I don't want to if it's in a Toma. You can't
Yeah,
convince
I
me.
mean, there's no good reason to go to that mall. Um, the funny thing about my malls is that they're mostly central and southern Iowa, which it's kind of just like a benefit of only really going to malls in this area. Like Jordan Creek looks amazing. Merle Hay looks good compared to some of these. Quincy Place Mall is disgusting. I would not go there.
Yeah, I was in Toma the other day, and I was there for 10 minutes too long. Uh, So I can't imagine places like that having a mall. Again, there's that population I'm talking about that range from 10 to 30,000 towns should not be having malls. And I actually did skip one here. My number two was Fort Dodge. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
Very similar to Mason City, I would say. They did tear it down. They're at least rebuilding it because I go to Taco Tico, which is just right across the street there from that mall. It's good to see. Get rid of it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think you got the right idea. In-person shopping is already kind of tough these days. Like it's so easy just to go online, have something show up to your door. But, there's a place for these malls. I think there's a good way to do these things. I'm not sure how it's going to pan out, but it was a fun segment. Interesting, interesting to see what will happen with these mall situations.
Bryce, what are we looking forward to the week?
Oh, let's see here. Pumped for the games this weekend. Getting ready to go to Nashville here in about 2 weeks. We'll be doing a couple days on Broadway. We'll be going to the Vikings and Titans game and actually golfing the Troubadour down there that Monday morning. So looking forward to that trip. I don't have a lot going on this week because this is a get down to business, grind it out, and prepare for Friday night's battle against UCLA. What about you?
Yeah. I got basketball season coming up here, so I'm getting back into City League basketball here. And
Nice.
I'm scared shitless. My left Achilles has been hurting for the last couple weeks, and I have it. It's been so bad that at night I literally have to flip sides of the bed, put my foot up next to the wall to stretch it and like put pressure on it to keep it at a 90 degrees where it feels the tightness being relieved. And that's how I have to sleep sometimes.
Gosh.
And now I got to
Hey,
play
that's
city league
that's
basketball.
ballsy to start playing basketball at 29 years old.
And then not only am I having an Achilles problem on my left side of my leg, the last 3 days, the bottom section towards my heel, kind of more towards heel, towards more the middle of the foot, has been hurting. And I already knew the word in my head. I asked my wife, who's a PA. I'm like, hey, she's like, that's not good. She's like, plantar fasciitis.
Oh,
And I looked up pictures online and YouTube videos. I currently have a golf ball underneath
you're
my
just
foot,
rubbing it on there, right?
rubbing it up right
Mhm.
now. Yeah, I'm scared. Not good.
It's most of my creaky knees and toes and everything. Like walking up a stairs sounds like a damn um, musical instrument, and it's
Mm-hmm.
100% from basketball. So good
my
luck. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I probably won't pick up a basketball in a competitive form for the rest of my life. I've decided that golf will be my competitive sport, but I commend you because that's one of the scariest things I could possibly think of.
Yeah, I'm doing just to get a sweat on.
Yeah,
With simulator league, it's fun to do, but I'm also getting drunk doing it. So I need
that's
something
true.
where I'm not drinking and doing it. So the good thing about this team is that I hear nothing but post players, a bunch of 6'4", 6'6" dudes. So I won't have to do anything inside the paint. You
Perfect.
won't see me go inside the 3-point line. So I'm gonna be a little low key, which is a little bit different than my game.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting to the age now. I think of the guys that you would have played with at the local rec or your YMCA growing up that you would call the facilitator. And it'd be that 35 to 55-year-old guy who knocks down open threes and just feeds the rock to the right guy. And we're kind of getting to that age.
Yep. Like I said, I had a coworker who tore his Achilles shooting a free throw at 29 years old last year.
You're
So
kidding.
no, yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna turn it. Was just about this time last year. He's like, I'm playing a tournament. He hasn't played in he played college basketball. Hadn't played a couple months, and I came into a boot the next day. I'm like, bro, I told you not to jump. He's like, I didn't. I'm like,
Oh,
what do you
what the?
mean? He's like, I shot a free throw, took a step back, snapped. And that's
Unreal.
that's all I can think about right now. My left Achilles.
Hey, good luck and Godspeed. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, but just take care of yourself out there. Um, dude, this is a fun pod. I like what I'm seeing out of the Iowa and Iowa State football teams. I'm even kind of looking forward to the basketball games this upcoming week.
This upcoming week, tonight, baby. A lot of
Let's
sports.
go.
We're drowning into it. Looking forward to it. Everyone, thanks for hopping on. And again, a quick shout out to our good friends of the podcast, the Atlantic Bottling Company. Thank you guys very much. That body armor looks so good. You know me. I'm going to go get my tacos after this.
All right, have some fun. Enjoy your tacos, and talk to you in a few.